Hello everyone, welcome back to the new video. So in this video we are going to learn about the GitHub and what actually the GitHub is, how it is helping us in the development of any project. I'm going to clear all your doubts and will show you how you can make your changes. So we'll look into the step-by-step process. So without any further delay, let's start this video. So first of all, let's understand about the GitHub and the history from where it comes. So GitHub is actually the version control system. So in the version control system, what happens is that whenever you and your team members are working on any project, version control tool helps in your developing the application and reduces the time in the development. Rather than working on the management of any project, we just need to work on the logic that needs to be built on the project. A version control system take care of modification that you are going to do in a particular lifespan of the project. When you start developing the project or your team members are working on the same project, you and your team members can concurrently work at the same time without having conflict between each one of us. So you have some global repository and you have some local repository. Changes in the local repository, test everything. If it is working fine, you can push those changes into the global repository so that everyone can see those changes. This is the simple process of the version control system. So it starts with the legacy system, which is called the CVS. I have already worked on the CVS. It has the various drawbacks. Some drawbacks has been taken care in the GitHub. So currently we have multiple version control system such as the GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. One of the popular version control system that in most of the companies are currently being used in their own internal network as well is the GitHub. GitHub is currently being acquired by the Microsoft in the year 2019. I've also worked on the GitLab previously in the 2019 when the Microsoft came up with the decision of acquiring the GitHub. Most of the people have the concern regarding if they could make the GitHub as the paid, but this does not happen at all. So GitHub is still one of the most popular version control system in which the millions of the repositories and the projects are available, and in the open source development you can contribute in any of the project which is available on the GitHub. Now we are going to understand about the terminologies that are being involved in the GitHub. If you are going to make any changes in your project, how you can easily make your changes, can work with your team members effectively. So let's understand about the terminologies that involved in the GitHub. So I came directly onto the GitHub website. So in this website you can see I have worked on one of the project which is called the web crawler, and in which I am going to make you understand about some terminologies which are involved in this particular project, and in every project you can make use of them. These terminologies help you to understand how you can make your own changes in the projects, in any of the project. So first of all, we understand about this project. So this is also called the repository, where you basically put your project. We are going to see the practical also, how you can make the changes in the later part of the video. This is the repository, and this one is called the fork. Suppose this is my project and you also wanted to work on this project. So you wanted to take this project in your own space, so you can do this particular fork. Once you click the fork button, you will get this particular project in your own space. So these are basically the code files that are present in this particular project. Second thing that you understand is basically the issues. So anyone can open the new issues in this project. I can assign anyone who wanted to work on any of the particular issue or the feature. So they could raise a new issue, or it could be the feature, and they could ask that I wanted to work on that particular issue. I can assign that particular person to work on that issue. They could make the changes and I can review them and can directly merge into my main project. Second thing that we are going to understand about this pull request. So whenever you are making changes in your own space by forking the project, so forking means you are working in your own GitHub space, and if you wanted to merge the changes, you wanted to make a pull request. So you wanted to request, hey, please merge my changes in the original project so that it could be visible to all the users, because it is in the production which all the users are using this particular project. Add some feature over there which I have already raised the issue. So you can work on that particular issue, make some changes. I can review those changes and can add those changes in my particular project and can close that issue. So suppose you wanted to work on the Google's Android project, so it is the open source project, you can directly work on that project as well. If you wanted to work on that particular issue, if you understand what is the feature that you are going to add over there, so you can ask the administrator that, hey, I wanted to work on that particular feature. So you can ask them and can start working, make the changes, test it locally, and then once you fix those changes, means you could commit the changes. After committing the changes, you will see the icon of the pull request where you are requesting the administrator of the Google to approve those changes, and they could merge those changes that you did, that they can add those changes in the main repository, which is live. So this is how the multiple peoples used to work at the same time concurrently without having any problem. Third thing that we are going to understand about this feature, which is called the branches. So this is currently present in the main branch, and we could make the any number of the branches after it. Suppose you have the two different clients that are using the same project. One is basically the web client, second is basically the Android client. Both client might have the some differences that you wanted to provide. Suppose in the Android client there are some differences that you wanted to provide, some different images that used to come in the Android, and there are some different images that needs to come in the web client. So you could make the two different branches for both of them, and you can use the same particular project file but can make the changes in some of the files. So you can keep the differences in two different branches. Branch is basically some new version of that same project. In first branch you have targeted for the Android client, in second branch you are targeting only for the web client. So these are the terminologies which are involved in the GitHub UI. We are going to see this particular practice, how you can make your own changes in this particular project. So what you need to do if you wanted to work on this particular project, so I'm making the changes in my remote repository only. So remote repository, if I'm working in my own space, if you are working in the own space but the project belongs to someone else, then you can say that you are working in the remote repository but you wanted to make the changes at the origin project. So first we are going to see how you can make the changes in your own space. So what you need to do, copy from over there. I'm going to make use of the terminal to bring the remote repository at my local machine so that I could make the changes locally, then can push my changes at the remote repository. Because you can't directly work on the remote repository, you have to first take it on your own system, do the testing. If everything is working, then you could make the modifications at the remote repository. So we write the command as the git clone, and you could paste whatever you have copied from over there, which is basically the HTTPS URL. So you have copied the HTTPS URL. So cloning is basically like the saving the project locally. So I have saved this particular project locally, so I go to that particular project and make the changes. Suppose I am making the changes in the readme file. So readme file is basically this particular documentation that I have already written over there. So I'm making the changes in that only, adding a new change. Once I have made the changes, so let's save that particular changes. So whatever I have did, I have made the changes in the particular file. But GitHub does not know still that you have made the changes in the file. To push your changes, what you have made it locally. Suppose you have tested everything after making the changes, then you can also see like what changes I have made. So there is one particular command which is helpful to see what is the status of the current project locally. It show me that this particular file has been modified. So what you need to do is you need to first of all add those changes. So what git add command does is basically it takes the changes that you have made in the file, takes to the staging area. What is a staging area and what is the benefit of using the staging area in between the working directory and the git repository? Suppose you have the 4 files in which you have make the changes, and you need to implement the 2 features. And if you try to commit all the files at the single step, seems that you have make all these changes for one particular feature, and it is little difficult for the reviewer to see what all changes that you have made, because generally whenever you make a commit, it shows that what is the current state of the project and what changes that you have made, so that it will be clearly shown to the reviewer what changes exactly you have made. Already make the changes in 4 files, and if you wanted to commit one by one, like 2 files belong to a one particular feature and 2 files belong to a second feature. So in order to make the commit one by one, so that you could select whatever files are required for that one particular commit, so that it will be only specified for the feature 1. It seems that these only 2 files are required to implement the feature 1, so you put only those 2 files in the staging area and make a commit, and then you put the remaining 2 files in the staging area and then make a commit. So this is how the staging area actually works. So currently I am using the command git add dot, which means that all the files which you have modified, I am adding all those files in the staging area. But you can write the name of the files which you wanted to add specifically in the staging area for one particular commit. So how you can add those changes? You need to say git add dot. So this is the command that you need to use to add those changes. So once you have added those changes, you will again see in the git status. So in the terminal it shows that git restore staged file to unstage. If you wanted to unstage the changes for a particular file, then you can do the write the same command to unstage the files. We could write the command as git branch to see what is our current branch in which we are currently working. So it will say that we are working in the main branch. So you need to take care of that before committing your changes. Either you are allowed to work in the main branch or in the develop branch, because generally if you are working in any of the source project, generally we used to make changes first in the develop branch, and then the administrator used to merge those changes or can move those changes from the develop branch to the main branch. And we can also create the new branch by using this particular command, which is the git checkout and the branch name. So we are not going into the detail now. So now we can see that we are currently in our main branch. So one thing that we need to do is basically commit our changes. Git commit is the command, and m is like what the message that we have to provide. It is just like so that the user without opening the file could understand what changes that you have made. So it's just like a title or any message that you wanted to provide. After committing the changes, it says that one file has been changed and one insertion. So git commit is basically what it does is basically record your changes. So whatever changes that you have done at this particular point, it will take a snapshot and it will save that snapshot. Consider like that. So whatever files you put in the staging area, that will be taken care in the next commit. So till now we have recorded our changes in the local repository only. So in order to reflect the same in the remote repository, we have to push the changes. It says that branch is ahead of origin main by one commit. So this means that our local repository is ahead of one commit than our remote repository or the origin repository which is being present. So you need to push those changes. So what you can do, you need to push those changes. It will ask me the username. You also need to enter the password as well. See on the screen, so I have committed my changes. So because there was some error that you need to create the personal access token in the GitHub account before pushing the changes. So I have made those changes, and it will be same reflected onto the GitHub repository. So as you can see that my commit has been shown over there, which is basically the made change and who has committed those changes. Everything is being mentioned in this. So if multiple team members are working at the same time concurrently, so they can push the changes to that particular project, and you can review it later whom team member changes that you need to merge and all, right? So currently we have seen that how you can make the changes in your remote repository. Still one scenario is left how you could make the changes if you have forked the repository from some other project. Till now, whatever we have seen, the process will be same for that as well. So this will be not your own project but a forked repository from where you have taken this particular code. So you will make those same changes. In that case, you will also get a pull request button above this. Once you click that pull request, that request will be sent to its origin repository from where you have copied the code. So this is the only difference when you have to work on someone else's project rather than work on your project. So now get back to the terminal. There were some more things that you need to understand. Now we have made the changes in our remote repository. Let's see what is the output of the git status now. So you can see I am on the branch main, and your branch is also the up to date with this particular origin main. So your local repository is in sync with the remote repository. Pull those changes. Someone has already pushed the changes in your project file and you wanted to pull those changes. Pulling those changes, wanted to bring the changes which in your local repository. How you could do that? So there is a command of git pull. If I try to write this git pull, it is saying which is already up to date, which is correct. So there is one more command that you can see. If you write git remote v, so you could see what is the remote repository. Push and the fetch link is been coming over there. If you wanted to work on totally different aspect, then you could make your own branch rather than making the changes in the original branch in which other developers are working. What you can do, you can create the own branch. So there is a command of git checkout, and then you can write the name of the branch. So I am writing the name of the branch. So let's end this video, not to make this too long. I hope this video is very helpful for you to understand about the Git and the initial working. If you wanted to get a start with the open source and wanted to contribute, then this video is very helpful to you. If you really like this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And then bye bye.